Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation for today is Sri Rag Mahalla Panjwa, Man Bilas Bahu Rang Ghana, Drisht Pool Khusiyan, Chhatratar Badshahiyyan, Vich Sahse Pariya, Pai Re Sukh Sad Sang Paya, लिखिया लेख तिन पुरख बिधाता, दुख सहसा मिट गया रहाओ, जेते थान थनंतरा तेते भव आया, धन पाती वड भूमिया, मेरी मेरी कर परया, हुक्म चलाए निसंग होए, वरते अफरया, सबको वसगत कर लियोन, बिन नामे खाक रलिया, कोट ते तिस सेवका, सिद्ध साधिक दर खरिया, गिरंग बारी वड साहबी, सब नानक सुपन थिया. So when the mind, man, becomes very immersed in pleasures, or when it becomes self-indulgent, baharang ghana, it loses its capacity for reasoning and consequently lacks proper vision, drisht pool khusiyan. And this is not something that afflicts the common man. Even emperors and kings, Chhatradar Badshahiyyan, are not immune from this affliction. Chhatradar Badshahiyyan, Vich Sahse Pariya. And then the Shabad goes on to reassure us that one may have travelled, bhav aya, to all the lands and countries, jete than thanantara. One may own a lot of wealth, dhanapati. One may be a great landlord, vadpumiya. One may have asserted a great deal of power, hukam chalaye nisang. One may rule over vast dominions, girang bari vad sahabi. One could be the master of all gods and perfected spiritualists. Kot teti se sevaka siddh sadhik dar khadya. Despite all of this, despite all of the wealth, despite the power and the command that one may possess, it can all be dreamlike. Sab nanak supan thaya. Now that is pause for us to think about. What is Guruji saying when he says Sab Nanak Supan Thaya? Something to reflect on. And then Gurbani tells us, only the right association will bring proper fulfillment. Sukh Sad Sangapaya. And an essential part of this fulfillment is a sense of resignation. Likhya lekh tin purkh bidate, dukh sehsa mit gaya. Now, at first glance, it is very easy to be misled into believing that this passage, like many others in Gurbani, is an indictment of wealth and power, meaning that it's really condemning wealth and power. And I think that a lot of us actually carry this sort of opinion. I think this needs to be revisited. That's certainly not the case. Because if we view this passage contextually, it is actually teaching us the correct use of wealth and power. How should we actually use wealth and power? Because wealth creation is something that a Sikh must do, must create an economic surplus. But the question is, what is the correct usage? So one of the assumptions that we must posit is the recognition that earthly life is brief. It's really dreamlike. So nothing is really going to stick around forever. Why get attached? And it is precisely this attachment that is misleading and leading us into undesirable behavior that we talked about in the last verse as the disease of narcissism. It is precisely this kind of behavior that Guruji is talking about. Because such behavior is self-centered, it threatens, one, the stability of the social order, which requires a degree of self-sacrifice, but it also threatens the stability of one's own mind by indulging it. Because the mind is by nature indulgent, wishes to repeat the same thing over and over again, but as we have seen, it leads to a certain neurosis. And when you're neurotic, you are an issue, you're a problem to yourself and a problem to everyone around you. And that is what the barrier is to self-fulfillment. So the lesson about wealth and power in this passage is to have the judgment to use these wisely, and judgment gets clouded when you self-indulge. So create wealth, but don't be parsimonious. Share it. Acquire power indeed, but use it in the service of a larger good, not to perpetuate your own selfish ends. So it is for all these reasons and more that Gurbani tells us to develop wisdom. Wisdom is the capacity to see things in proportion, which means to see things clearly, unobstructed, and therefore being able to make the right judgment at the right time. So no matter what situation you are presented with, you will have the wisdom to make the right choice and undertake the right course of action. Wisdom is a sense of recognition, a sense of submission to the inevitable. Now, this does not again mean inaction. Resignation means find your stride on the path of Sikhi. Once that happens, you will develop an effortless grace where the line between what you're doing and what is being done to you disappears. In other words, the acceptance of this destiny is indeed the finding of grace, because then you're moving in unison with Hukam, in harmony with Hukam. Until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.